since 2011.
Right, Nathan is with us to talk about the football last night. Nathan, you went to stalk Declan Rice. How did it go?
I can't hear words you're saying to me, lads.
Okay. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Get the Dublin County Board off that show.
Hey!
Get out of here.
Yeah, he's sneaking past the camera as we speak.
I think there's a big delay, so maybe talk to him.
Okay, there seems to be a bit of a delay, as everybody just heard now, because the door opened when Tommy was saying that. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Ah,
clear, Chair.
Hello, Rath Farnham. What are your votes?
I'm in Manchester.
Okay.
In Manchester.
Okay.
This is not a picture in my house.
No, that's why it's nailed on. The way your kids get on. Come here. You tried to speak to Declan Rice last night. What happened?
Obviously, I'm not overly surprised. He walked through the mix zone, hat on, head down, and said, "You're grand, thanks."
Pretty much what he did to Ireland, right?
I attempted to turn to him and say, "Why would you turn your back on me like you turned your back on the people of Ireland?" But I thought that might be unprofessional in a mix zone.
I mean, you would have gone viral, so...
A little bit.
It's what Donald Trump would have done.
Exactly. But listen, we let him on with his life.
So tell us about the football last night, because it seemed, certainly from your tweets, that, not that you've got a horse in the race or anything here, but you were seeing signs of weakness, signs of choking from Manchester City last night.
I don't know. I think could have won the 5-0 last night and it would have been a fair result. But also, if West Ham had scored a late goal, it probably would have served them right. They flew out of the blocks, City. They had 4 brilliant chances inside the first 5 minutes. They hit the post, but then they just sort of got a little bit slow, a little bit more pedestrian, overcomplicating it. The fans actually, we talk about nerves at Anfield. Once news came in of that first goal for Liverpool, it was around a similar time that West Ham finally started to find their way into the game. And the City fans were getting very frustrated, particularly Riyad Mahrez. Every time an attack broke down, every time a counter-attack didn't finish with an attempt on target, they were really getting on their players' backs. They deserved to win the game, there's no question. Like West Ham, it was one of the most unambitious performances I have ever seen from an away side. It looked as though they just came in the hope that they wouldn't get absolutely battered. But then right at the start of the second half, they made a change. Samir Nasri was useless in the first half, never got a touch of the ball. They're bringing on Manuel Lanzini, who's back from injury. He creates a great chance for Andy Carroll, close range, Ederson saves, and within a couple of minutes, City make the changes. They take off Mahrez and Sané, bring on Sterling and Bernardo Silva. Like, what substitutions to be able to make? And they make an instant impact. Bernardo Silva wins a pretty soft penalty. I'm not sure if you saw it, one of those where he's cutting in from the right-hand side. He sticks his left foot across Felipe Anderson, and there's basically nothing Felipe Anderson can do but sort of run into the back of him. There wasn't even much contact in that. And they get the penalty. Aguero slots it away, 18 goals for the season. And West Ham didn't really create too many chances. I wouldn't be overly worried if I was a Manchester City fan. They had extra time against Chelsea in the Carabao Cup final. I'm sure they went and celebrated that a little bit. They just looked ever so slightly off. And also I think when I looked at that starting team from City, probably 4 of their 5 best players this season weren't in that team. Laporte and Fernandinho are both going to be out probably till the end of March. And then you also have Sterling and Bernardo Silva on the bench. So you get those 2 back even. I think it's a far more clinical Manchester City.
Yeah, but I mean, Owen was making the case earlier in the season that Fernandinho was a good outside bet for Footballer of the Year. There was a point where he was being talked about in hushed tones as this kind of Jenga piece that the entire house of cards at Manchester City would fall down if he wasn't there. If he's going to be out for a month, it's not nothing.
It's not nothing, and it may impact them more in the Champions League than the Premier League because they've got a brilliant run of fixtures before they take on Spurs and Manchester United in April. They've got 5 games you would expect them to win every day of the week. I think they've got Bournemouth, Watford, Fulham, Cardiff, Crystal Palace. Could not ask for 5 better games from City if you're going to be without both Laporte and Fernandinho. But
we're going to try and re-establish the Skype connection because it looks like you had a stroke in the middle of speaking there, and that's not good.
When he was doing his shouty bit earlier on, saying, "When do you come back and play for Ireland?" It just kind of came after a bit of a lag, so it looked like he just gone silent for a while and had just had a bit of a fit.
It burped out.
Yeah, interesting. Like some like Manchester City have like put up incredible statistics, as we know, over the past season and a half, and I think it was the first time all season. I know it was the first time all season, according to Daniel Taylor's match report, that they failed to score twice or more in any game at their own ground. And you think, oh well, are they starting to show signs of frailties here? But the fact is, no other side has managed that kind of record over a 15-game period in the top division since Spurs in 1965. So they're still hitting historic heights this season, and I think that just puts into context what Liverpool are doing themselves.
Yeah, in fairness, Nathan, we should talk about that whatever happens from this point forward, Liverpool winning 5-0 last night put an end to the whole talk of wobble. It's the last day in February today. They will beat the league leaders into March against a historically good Man City team. This is a proper title race between two brilliant teams.
Yeah, and listen, I wouldn't overly get carried away about Liverpool last night either and the end of their stuttering, because it's only a couple of weeks ago that they beat Bournemouth at home by 3-0, and everyone felt that was Liverpool back to their very best. Whereas, listen, last night was a different level again against Watford, and they Trent Alexander-Arnold back, and I'd say Jurgen Klopp regrets not starting him against Manchester United with the amount of ball that James Milner wasted at the weekend. But this is a remarkable run from Liverpool. The statistic you see this morning is they already have a better points total than 16 previous entire Premier League seasons. What they've done is pretty spectacular. They've only been beaten once all season, remember, but it's not really going to matter for anything unless they can somehow see it out, and they need to follow it up at Goodison Park on Sunday. Yeah, like I think with Liverpool, part of the problem, and you talk about atmosphere in the grounds, is everything with Liverpool is too high or too low. Like a draw against Manchester United, not playing at your very best away from home, isn't a disaster. But also winning 5-0 at home against an unbelievably inconsistent Watford doesn't mean that suddenly they're back. I think we'll know whether they're back to the very best on Sunday at Goodison. And the one real positive for Liverpool is they have shown this season, when Divock Origi scored that late goal against Everton at Anfield, that they went on this run for the next month where nobody could live with them. And if last night's a sign that they're back to that, well, I think you would still have them as strong favourites to win the title. I
don't know about strong favourites at this point. And just to talk about the Bournemouth game, they missed a lot of chances. They were kind of nervy in that game. And Bournemouth, I think, were losing their 8th successive away fixture. Watford were playing well recently and had definitely brought a little bit of form into that game, coming off a big victory themselves. Now, granted, we were making this point a little bit earlier on, they had just hit the magical 40 points mark and no doubt had celebrated in much more meaningful fashion than Man City celebrated after their Carabao Cup win. So maybe there's a little bit of that to take it. But I think as well, I would put far more store in this performance than that one. As you point out, Trent Alexander-Arnold starting a game, the second player in history, the youngest player in history to have a hat-trick of assists.
I think that's correct, Nathan. You might correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I think that sounds like something I also read on Twitter last night.
The thing that I kind of picked up on last night is that, like, you talk about Liverpool and the fact that they have such prowess to actually beat a team 5-0 without being at their 100% best, which is incredible to think. But they only do that when they have all their attacking parts on the field. And beating a team 5-0 without Roberto Firmino is an impressive feat indeed.
Yeah, obviously they changed things last night in the decision to play Sadio Mane down. I was surprised. It was one of the surprising aspects of Sunday at Old Trafford that Jurgen Klopp never changed this in terms of the front three's role. Like, Mo Salah wasn't having a good day. Luke Shaw had the beating of him every time. But when you have a player of Mo Salah's talent, why not just move him? Why not switch it for 20 minutes? Firmino had already gone off the pitch. Why not move Origi out to the wing and Salah out to the left, or play him through the middle, and at least give teams something else to think about? And Watford couldn't have expected last night that Sadio Mane was the player to play down the middle. So I think maybe there's something in that for Klopp as well, that he needs to try something different from time to time to make them slightly less predictable. The other positive I felt for Liverpool last night was obviously Van Dijk getting a couple of goals, because for all his brilliance, the one thing that he probably hasn't brought to Liverpool is goals. For somebody of his size and stature, he's not the real presence you would expect a lot of the time from set pieces. If they can add that over the next couple of months and get the goals, I think, listen, it's another outlet there. And the other thing I would say as well is, like, at home, Liverpool are nearing on 2 years now undefeated. So at Anfield, they don't seem to have too many problems, no matter who they're playing against.
Who knew Manchester was such a black spot for good Wi-Fi coverage, or else we've just put you in a crappy hotel. But I presume you got a good night's sleep anyway.
Very much so.
One last thing, Nathan. What's your take on how how the rest of the Champions League places are going to go? Who's going to come third through to sixth?
I think Spurs will still finish top three. I think Pochettino's shown an ability to bounce back from disappointing results, and I think Spurs will still finish third in the table. I would probably go United top four. You just couldn't trust Arsenal in the tight games, in the tougher games against other teams in the top four, where United have shown over the past couple of months that they can get a point where they need it. They can, like, they've already gone and beaten Tottenham. They got that draw against Liverpool. Arsenal are still just too flaky. You wouldn't be at all surprised if Arsenal drop points in a game this weekend. And Chelsea, unless somehow what happened with Kepa at the weekend is this great unifying force that turns out to be a turning point in their season, again, I wouldn't trust them enough. I just think United have the momentum and have the ability to probably get results when they're not playing at their best right now, whereas Arsenal just don't have that.
Yeah, way more momentum than your Wi-Fi coverage this morning. Nathan, enjoy the rest of the quiet time that you have before we'll see you in the office a little bit later on. Take care.
Cheers, lads.
Nathan Murphy at the game last night.
Yeah, the best